All right, friends, welcome back. I'm so excited to continue our conversation with Meet the Speakers. And today I met this woman on Clubhouse, back in the Clubhouse days. So she doesn't have to raise her hand because I can actually see her and we can have a conversation. But I was already a fan. I knew who she was before Clubhouse because I'd been reading about her. And not just reading about her from big industries because, she is deemed one of the most influential people in the wedding industry, but I read about her from different things that people were saying about her, the way the clients, and she shares a lot of stories about how she was so excited when clients would first hire her and that she still has that passion today. So I'm so excited that she's coming. She's going to be coming to Duluth from DC. So I'm so excited she's coming to share with you all. And she is going to be talking about the anatomy of a six-figure wedding. Now, I'm going to throw a really hard question at you right away. Why six figures? Why was that your topic? And why do you feel that's important and relevant for 2024 and beyond?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me. Why six figures? Well, we're going straight for the jugular.
Yes.
The reason that I want to bring this up is that we are an industry where we love what we do. Like, we are fueled so much by passion. We're fueled so much by our love for clients. And to be really honest, especially as planners, I mean, I think it's true for everyone in the industry, but especially as planners, we go into this because we're like, I just want to give all that I have, right, to this business. But a lot of people leave the industry because they gave all they had and they didn't really fully get much back, right? They ended up getting clients that didn't appreciate all the effort that they were putting in. They're running a business in the negative, or maybe that's not really paying them anything. And the truth of the matter is that money is not a bad thing. Money is a tool. It's a good thing. You should be paid for the things that you're skillful in. And so six figures is kind of, for most people especially who live in bigger cities, that's what you need to make in order to,
at the minimum,
in order for you to work in your business full time. A lot of people are like, how do I want to go full time in business? And I think a lot of us want to do that out of clout, which is a whole nother topic. Mm-hmm. But it's like, how do I go build this six-figure business? But the first thing is, do you keep a personal budget? Do you know what it costs for you to live month to month, right? And for most people, that's somewhere between $3,500 to $5,000 or $3,500 to $5,500, right? And that's not living like wild, but that's what it's going to cost you just to live. And to do that, you need to make somewhere between 70 and maybe 110K, right? Depending on where you landed on that scale. That's just it. After you pay your taxes, you pay your assistants, pay for your tools, pay for education, all those things, that's what you need to make. And so for me, it's like just normalizing it. Like, this is, if you want to be one of those few vendors who's like, this is what you do, right? It wasn't just a fad for a few years, so this is what you do long-term. This kind of has to be your norm.
So if I hear you correctly, passion is not enough to make a profit.
It's not.
And how many in the industry, you've been around enough, that we have physically seen people come in with this big passion, this drive, big heart. I've seen them run themselves ragged. 2 years later, they're back working at Target. Nothing against Target, nothing against that. But I think one of the things that we forget is we have to be real and honest with ourselves. Mm-hmm. If you are somebody who wants to do this, and let's be honest, you said at the beginning, we would probably do this for free because we're people pleasers. We love the creativity of it. Mm-hmm. I believe that if you're doing what you love, you should bring you profit, purpose, and joy, right? So you want to come into this industry and you want to have a career. How important do you think it is to understand the business side before the creative side?
I think it's crucial. I don't know if it has to be before, but I will say that as an entrepreneur of any sort, one of the things that is different about us than somebody who's working a job, somebody who, let's forget about our industry, right? I think we understand things better sometimes when we pull out.
Exactly. Yeah.
So let's talk about somebody who is an accountant, right? Somebody who's an accountant. The difference between the person who gets up and goes to work as an accountant and the person who owns their own accounting firm is that not only do you do the accounting work, you also have to get the business in the first place. Right. So you don't really, one thing that I always say, like, to people in our community is that you don't get to really exercise your passion until after you've sold someone one of your services. right?
100%.
So you still have to do the work to get the business, right, in order to serve them. And so I think that it's, when you're first getting started, you may not know that much about business. You're building your portfolio, and that's cool. But when you get to a place where you really want to make money, you have to understand the business. If you want to level up your portfolio and all of that, you want to level up into the high-end market, even level up into the luxury market and all of that, you have to understand business. Like, it's not just going to fall in your lap. Right? It's not. So you have to understand how to pull up your own business, right? We have to, one of the things I like to talk about is we have to graduate from the mentality of, oh, I'm an event planner, or I'm a florist, or I'm an officiant, right. I'm a business owner, right?
Exactly.
One thing about being a business owner is that there's nobody to promote you. Like, you have to promote yourself. Like, you don't just wake up one day and someone says, thanks for 3 years of service, you're now promoted.
Yeah, here's your watch. Thank you for attending all the meetings and everything that we did. Right.
It doesn't work that way. So we have to
you don't get a parking spot with your name on it. It's like, yeah. Well, and I think that's a good segue into why your topic is relevant, because I don't really care. We're not going to go political. If you're recession, not a recession, we have been through COVID, pre-COVID, 9/11, all the things. The way that you have to have your business is you're going to have to figure out a way to keep the doors open. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the things that we don't talk about a lot in this industry is, and I get a lot of pushback from stages when I speak about it. I don't know that you always have to go after that big $1 million wedding. If you know that you have a $500 car payment, or that your child or yourself needs some medicine or some care, I think it's okay to say yes to something smaller that gets you moving your business and keep the doors open. I'm not saying you need to stay in that space, but I think we need to be more comfortable with ourselves and honest with ourselves that what everybody's doing on these 9 squares is not always the truth. It's mm-hmm. not always the story you're going through. And so somebody that's been in the industry for a long time, do you believe, and again, changing generations, you can have a career. You can build a career. Do you feel there's a difference between just a business and a career, and that this industry can allow you to have a career if you look at it as a business?
Yeah. Do you mean like a career within the industry?
Yeah. That you can stay here long term if that's your choice. Like, you could have, like, I got 42 years here, no watch, but I had 42 years in this industry. So I don't know that this next generation is going to ever hang around anything for 42 years. But do you feel, now that you've grown your business, that you want to keep it until you want to not have it anymore, that this is your career?
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's my career, and I made I say it all the time. I made a very sharp left turn out of, IT consulting. Like, I graduated from an Ivy League university with an engineering degree in the middle of a recession, got a job when most people did not, got promoted a few times, got a new job, became a manager. Like that, I walked away from that. Well, I built my business while I was doing that. That's a lot of what I teach, how to streamline so you can do that. And then I walked that, and I chose this, right? So this is what I want. Like, I love creative entrepreneurship. This is what I love to do. I believe you can build a career in this. I do believe that there's a degree of, number one, knowing yourself. I don't think there's anything wrong with changing your mind. I change my mind
every day.
I thought I wanted to be a coder at Microsoft way back in the day. Like, that's a whole other story, right? So it's okay to change your mind, but if you look at your business as a little business, then of course you're going to have to walk away from it. If you never invest in your business, and not just being money, but the time, like the effort in the actual business side to grow it, of course you're going to have to walk away and do something else later, right? But if you really do that, you can. In this industry, there are people who consistently do $1 million weddings, right? Mm-hmm. There are people, like, there's so many spaces in the gamut. So you can definitely build a career. And to the first part of your question, absolutely. Like, I've had someone, and I think this is something that the way I would answer it, when someone says, I got an inquiry, but it's not from an ideal client, do I take it? I say, every single one of your clients is not going to be an ideal client. That's why it's an ideal, right? So I think that, I think that you continue working on your marketing and your sales strategy, you get more of those ideal clients. In the meantime, you work with what you got. And as long as you are, you work with what you've got. Not everything needs to go on Instagram, right? So if it's something that you're like, oh, I didn't really love the way that turned out, you don't have to post about it or post much about it, but you can still offer your service, right, with where you are. I think that I don't think there's anything wrong. I think everybody wants to do more. I believe that wedding planners should charge more. Most of us should charge what we're charging. I believe that, but you still got to work up to it, right? If you could just wake up one day and just change your prices and people would just come, there would be no need
well,
for
it's like you got to put the time in, right? It's like anything that you do. You have to put the time in. You have to do the blood, sweat, and tears. But at the end of the day, you get to bring to life I'm never going to say it's the most important day, because I think waking up the next day is pretty great. So I think you have the opportunity to be part of not just the clients, but also our wedding pros and the team on that day, to be part of something greater than you. Share a little bit about why, not so much, why you made the shift, but why you knew and why you've stayed here. What's that drive that keeps you staying here?
Well, I mean, it's a lot of things. I think that over the years, have realized that I am very passionate about systems, which is probably how I ended up in engineering in the first place. But I'm very passionate about systems. And I'm actually just passionate about the industry in general, like the events industry in general. I like operations. People tend to complicate operations,
Yes.
but like working around human nature to make sure those operations are as great as possible. Like, this is how I love to express that. It's something that I enjoy and I think is really, really important. I love also even working with others in the industry. I love the coaching part as well. I would say that there are different ways to operate in the industry. When you master something, the same way in corporate, when you get really good at something, eventually you become a manager in it, right? Maybe you start as a tester, then you become a test manager. Maybe you start at the cash register and you become a store manager. That is another avenue, like, to manage a team. And that's something that I'm passionate about. And so while I do have my own clients as well, I also manage a team of planners. It's not necessarily like that it would be impossible for me to do more of the weddings, but I enjoy that. Like, this is like entrepreneurship, I think innately is creative. You can decide how you want to run your business. And I enjoy coaching other people, bringing them up, like showing them, what I'm doing. And I think that that's a very viable way, so that I either have other people on the team who are doing a lot of the heavy lifting alongside me, or I can, kind of just have them do most of it, just depending on, the person, the personality, the best fit. But I think that there are multiple ways to grow in this industry, but a lot of times we are so narrow, we look at it so narrowly. It's like, oh, no one wants to pay me more than this amount, so I guess this is just it, versus figuring out how to work around it. There's so many other things that you can do. So.
Well, and just following somebody else's blueprint isn't going to find you success by you define it. You really do have to have a path carved out. You touched on something. So do you feel in the industry in a whole, I know we have lots of coaches, lots of consulting and all out there. What do you think we need to do better to help us understand that just because somebody's charging $10,000 does not mean we need to charge $10,000? It goes back to the start of our conversation with what's your personal budget? What's it actually cost you to live? How are you going to supplement that? What do you think we need to see more of, or do more of, or at least open our mindset more to be able to receive that we can define success by our own definition? What do we need to do more of as an industry?
I would say as an industry, but I also just think people in general, I don't think that we're socialized to figure out what we want, right? I think we're socialized to follow a blueprint. That's what K-12 education does. For whatever reason, when you're 18 years old, you're supposed to be able to define what you want to do for the rest of your life and pick a major in college. Like, I think that we are, and most people just kind of like, I don't know, and pick something, right? And then you go into that thing and you feel like you have to stick with it because you spent all this money doing it in college. Like, I think that we are not socialized to slow down enough and decide, what do we want? Especially for me, with some of my clients, they'll have a goal and they'll hit it, right? They hit their revenue goal, or they're able to pay themselves what they need and all of that. And a lot of times the conversations about certain things, I'm like, there's no right or wrong answer about what you do now. We need to decide what your lifestyle is, the lifestyle that you want to live. And a lot of people get stuck there. Right. I never considered that. I thought you were just going to tell me what to do. And I'm like, no, that's not coaching. It's not coaching. No. And I can tell you, with the two things you brought my way, I think this is a good idea if this is how you want to live. And I think this is how you want to live. But sometimes we have to think about, what do we actually want? I think one thing for me, I talked earlier about how I had an IT career and it was demanding. For anyone who doesn't know much about IT, when you're working in IT, first of all, people always break things at 4 p.m. and then come to your desk.
At 4:01.
Yeah, at like 4:45.
Yep. Yep.
Like, so there's that. There's also the fact that when you're deploying a new application, it's usually in the evening if it's something small, or it's all weekend if it's something big. So there were times that I had deployments that were like inching up against like stuff that I had to do for clients and things like that, right? So it was a juggle. But during that period, I was still able to do a lot. A lot of people had no idea that I had a day job. There was 2 years in a row where I did, one year, I think we did 20 weddings, and the next one, like 22. And I led most of them. And no one would know that I still had a day job. But for me, I did not define success by, are you full-time or not?
Right.
I define success by, I can pay all my bills for my job, and then I have a few extra $1,000 to add to my mortgage every month. Like I'm trying to get rid of PMI. I'm trying to pay stuff down. Like I'm trying to get some equity in this house. That was my vision. And that was what I defined as success. And that was what made me happy. And so for me, like my definition of success for a while was just, if I can pay myself $2,000 a month from this business, that is success, because that is going towards something that's very important to me. For other people, it may be that's $2,000 is going towards my debt, my student loan debt, or it's going to credit, or whatever it is. But like, there's something about sending your money on an errand that's just like, it's very satisfying. So whatever that thing is for you, that I think we have to start to think. That's the best way I can put it. We just have to start to think about what we want, really, like over the next year, over the next 2 years. A lot of times it's like, well, I want to have a multi-million-dollar in that.
Exactly.
Like, what do you want in the next year, and what do you want in the next 2 years? Let's talk about that, right? And then when you get it, what are you going to do with it, right? And I think that being disciplined in that also helps you to stick with it. It's a lot. When I know I'm trying to pay an extra $2,000 on my mortgage, it becomes a little like, I gotta have a really good reason to discount everything, or to like slash my prices. Like, I get disciplined about that without it being that, oh, I gotta, like being, like you were saying, like, oh, everybody has to charge 10,000. I wasn't charging 10K at the time. And I was okay with that. Right. I think we also have to be comfortable with our journey. Like, we have to, you don't get to come out the gate charging the same amount as someone who's been doing it for 10 years. Right.
Or expect the same results. You can, but you can't expect the same results that you're seeing for somebody else. Right? But that's the key. It's that personal journey. It's being brave enough to sit down and say, okay, I understand that so many people teach, what's the 10-year goal? But I agree with you 1,000% is what I try to practice, is what I try to lead. For me, it was time freedom. While I wanted financial stability, I also wanted to know that I wasn't working every weekend, and that once a week in a month, I'm traveling. I'm doing something. I'm doing an experience. I'm collecting experiences. And in order for me to do that, I had to charge XYZ to 3 other weekends of the month for me to get that. I didn't care what somebody else was charging. I knew what I needed to do to get my goals. And then when you're disciplined, now I'm the same way. No, I'm taking off this weekend. I always have taken off all of July to travel and do. Did I turn down weddings? Because the minute you mark yourself off and take that well-deserved vacation that if you're working for somebody else, you would take, you automatically book the next biggest client that you've never going to get again if you don't stand true to yourself and say, nope, self-care, this is my week off, I'm doing something. So I think if we start teaching ourselves and teach this younger generation coming into this industry, that be realistic with what you want to do outside, because when you reach that goal, there's going to be another goal. But you hit the nail on the head with, in order to find success and define success, what does that look like for you? What does this industry do to provide success for you? And I think that's a wonderful way to segue into, I want you to share with people how to come prepared for your session. Aside from open mind and open heart, and if they have some questions, I want you to reach out. Your DMs are open. Kathy's done a great job allowing all the speakers to have the social media there. Go ahead and ask a question. Let her get ready to talk to you a little bit when she gets to the conference. To get your questions in a line. How can I best prepare to come hear your wisdom and really take a hard look at what I want to do? How can you help me answer those questions and be prepared to come to your session?
Yeah, I think that's excellent. I think one of the first things, ideally, would be what we just talked about, honestly, defining what your next step is, like, for realistically within the next 1 year. In 1 year, where do you want to be? Or in 18 months may feel better, but like, what is the thing that you would want to be different? Is it, oh, I would love to book my first destination wedding, and also knowing the why behind it, right?
Right, the why behind it.
I need a destination wedding to like solidify me. And I'm like, you can be amazing locally. Like you don't need
exactly.
like, you don't need that.
Go on vacation and travel.
Exactly. So what are the things that you want? Like think about like also revenue goals. Think of also the clientele that you have, right? One thing that, I give people suggestions and a lot of times one of them may resonate, but if you're like, most of my clients are coordination clients or they book my lowest package and I want to flip that. I want more of my clients to book whatever the top tier is that I have. Like come up with like 2 or 3 bullets. Like, this is what I would like. This is what I want my next putt to be like. When you golf, you don't just hit one time. You kind of putt. So this is what my next putt is going to look like. If you could come with that, I think it would help you to really digest the whole session and come up with good questions at the end, right? So I think that's definitely one. Another thing that would help you to come prepared is knowing how your last year went. By the time of the event, where the year is going to be mostly over. So you can just look at 2024. Even better if you also look at 2023, but know your stuff. Know
your numbers. Yeah.
How many events did you book? Where did those clients find you? How much revenue did you have? Like just knowing some of those numbers, your revenue, where the clients found you, also your sales. So the difference between revenue and sales, I know we're coming up on time, but sales is, okay, this is 2024. And let's say I book 2 weddings for this year and I book 10 weddings for next year. All of the money, like if let's say all the weddings were booked at $5,000, right? So I booked 12 weddings, 2 this year, 10 next year, all at $5,000. That comes out to $60,000. I made $60,000 in sales. However, what I probably made in revenue is, let's say I took a $1,000 deposit from each of those events, right?
Yep.
And 2 weddings that I have this year, I would have made the whole $5,000. So that's $10,000 for the 2 weddings this year. For the 10 weddings next year, let's say $1,000 deposit from each. So that means I actually hit my account by the end of this year, if that makes sense. So understanding the reason that can help is that you might realize that, man, I haven't sold anything in a while.
Yep. Like what do I need to change?
Something might need to change, or maybe I didn't really have a lot of sales before, but something's ramping up now. What am I doing now that's working? Like this,
or you realize you're so busy, but were you really? Like this is how you burn out. You did all of this. And this is, no offense, I'm not knocking it, but this is what I have to show for it. I can't even pay my bills, but I was busy.
Yeah. So this is how your numbers speak to you. I think a lot of us just wait till tax time and just hope we can have a refund and that's it. But I think that if you can get into your numbers, this should just be quick and dirty math, right? The number of events, total revenue, total sales. Hopefully this is quick and dirty math. You shouldn't have to become an accountant to get this information or even have a P&L. But if you just have those easy numbers available, I think that would be helpful.
And I think also then the anatomy of 6 figures could be 7, 8, or 9. It can be whatever your goals are going to be. So get your tickets. If you're on the fence, you just heard her explain how important education is in the industry and out. Learn to figure out what it is that you desire, what you deserve, and let's help you grow your business by your definition and on your terms. I'm so excited that you're coming to St. Louis. I'm so excited to share a stage with you and be with you in person. I know you're bringing a wealth of information, a wealth of solid knowledge, and just the power and the energy that you're going to bring is going to uplift the attendees. So don't miss out. This is an ABC conference with a lot of changes, some new ownership, some new leadership. Erin and her conference team are doing some amazing different things that you're going to be able to experience, and the ability to talk to all the speakers off the stage and on the stage and those aha moments with your attendees is going to be out of this world. So please grab those tickets, and I will see you, my friend, in St. Louis. I'll see all of you in St. Louis. Get your tickets. Thank you for your time today and your space, your heart and energy. Cannot wait for everybody to meet you, my friends.
Thank you. Thanks so much.